guys. Well, it's another stuff underneath my attic over there. It's another weekend of work on the L9000, and I'm going to apologize. Well, not really apologize, but I've been working for, I don't know, about 4 hours now, and I have not videoed a damn thing. That's partially on purpose. Part of just because I wanted to get a bunch done. I was eager to get it done, but also, I think I've had, what, 2 or 3 videos now about the interior. Only so many people want to watch videos of interior work on restoring an old Ford Louisville. So, trying to just minimize that down a little bit and just keep it a little more entertaining, if you will. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you what I've got done so far, show you what I'm going to work on the rest of the weekend, and some little odds and ends, so hang tight. All right, so here's where we were at on the interior. You can see I've got my rear trim panels all up on here. We've got the washer bottle remounted. That is a new, well, it's not new. That's a fire extinguisher I had extra at work. It's been in the truck before, but luckily takes a different mount, but luckily I had the mount sitting around here. I had 3 of them and one of them was right. So we got a fire extinguisher mounted. We got whatever the hell that thing is bolted back down. Our junction box panels back on. Not that you can see it. Oh, I guess you can see it. We have the doghouse is all bolted in. I made my new brackets, which are, you know, really, really high tech, as you can see there. Black L brackets, but they do the job. You can see we've got an elongated shifter there, don't we? It's, I think, going to be pretty perfect. If anything, it might be a hair tall. I'd much rather have it be tall than short, though. So we're definitely, you know, Billy Big rigging now with a extended shifter. This is one of my favorite parts. I hated it last week. If you remember right, I had cut that panel out in that semicircle kind of shape, had rounded edges, and it didn't sit. It sat basically flush with the wood floor. I hated it. So it's too bad I didn't take any videos of this, but what I basically did was I bought some, I think 2-inch, inch and a half, 1/8 inch and a half by 1/8 inch flat stock, and I welded it all the way around. Yeah, it's just like that, which obviously squared it up by rounding, you know, beveled on my edges a little bit and rounded them off. And then I re-drilled the holes for the mounting bolts into that. I welded it so that those are right on the edge of that steel, so that steel is stiffening up that mounting portion, and it just widened everything out by about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, which was enough to get around the laminate floor, or vinyl plank floor, I guess, if you will. It's pulling on it a little bit. It's a little tight. I don't know if I want to loosen it. I think I'm going to end up putting something right here anyway. Maybe cup holders, I'm not sure. This is a good spot for cup holders too. Then they got the doghouse, but I don't know. I'm still thinking we'll worry about that stuff later. But anyway, and then obviously it had a, you know, nice welding and smoothed all out nice, but you know, that old plate was all really badly rusted anyway, and it was ugly. And so I said, you know what? I got carpet. Let's just carpet that. So we wrapped it, you know, melted through the bolt holes, so I had through bolts, and then we just put the shifter plate back on. So it's all, you know, he was spray adhesive obviously, but that is all mounted, and I mean, turned out awesome. I'm 10 times happier than seeing that old nasty rusty painted metal. I took that same logic on my seat, my driver's seat. As you can see, it's a little dirty right now, but I'm gonna do the same thing, only because that was all nasty. Actually had a hole in it in one spot, so this is a perfect way to overcome that. And, you know, yeah, it's gotta be vacuumed, but this isn't gonna be hardly driven at all, so it's not like it's gonna get super dirty. So easy to clean, nice flat, easy access to all of it, so no big deal. I've got this seat remounted for the time being. Might have a line. Some of you might watch, I'm sure a lot of you probably watch JC Smith on YouTube, and been talking to him, and he's got a set of seats just like this. So we're gonna work out a deal on a few things, but probably going to buy a different his matching passenger seat from him, more than likely, which has a good cushion, which we can swap over to this driver's. I don't have to have any upholstery work done then. Same exact color. Then all I got to do is shampoo this stuff up, which I talked last week about doing that here this winter. I realized I'm stupid for wanting to do that. Just wait till summer when it's warm, stuff can dry properly instead of freezing. I don't want to introduce any kind of mold issues or anything like that. So we'll wait till it's warm to do that project. It can easily be done when everything's back in the truck. So I've got the mounting plate mounted to the bottom of this seat. I've got the air all remounted. Everything's done. On this passenger seat, I reinstalled those trim panels on the side there that I painted. Obviously, it's not a perfect match, but it looks pretty dang good. So those seats are ready to go in right now, which is when the rest of the seat belt stuff will go in. It's all just sitting there ready. It's the last of the trim. You can see I masked off this radio panel, and I went to paint it, and it did the same damn thing it did on the dashboard. Bubbled and was nasty, and as well as I got it cleaned off. So guess what? We're gonna get some more black. Radio panel's gonna be black. So be it. But that's not going on today anyway. This, like I've said before, I'm actually gonna stick this headliner probably up in the attic up here, just for safekeeping, because there's no reason to put that in until paint's done, because we want to pull those air horns off, whether we replace them or we fix them up. But we got to get those air horns off, and to access the bolts, we got to have the headliner down. So none of that's going to go back up anytime soon. I will put some insulation up there before I put the headliner back up in. And see that nasty old radio there? That's the other thing we've got, and this is by no means a high quality unit, but we got us a little little Bluetooth whatever stereo, so, and a couple speakers to go up there in the headliner. Just gonna keep it simple, keep it like that. It's cheap stuff, no big deal, sound decent enough. And then what else did we get this week? We got 10 nice little lighted 12-volt switches to replace all my ones in the dashboard. And then we got some new seat mounting hardware. The other cool thing I got, just came in the mail today actually, about an hour ago. Not for this truck, of course, but we are gonna convert old Nancy over to LED headlights. So these are nice little H13s. They got internal cooling fans. We got the CAN bus ballast resistors, so we don't get any warning lights and flickering and all that stuff. So excited to get those done. But before we can do that, because we want to do that inside this barn, we got to get this interior put back together. That's really the last step here, guys. I've got a couple screws I'm going to drop in these holes up in the doghouse, because I don't want holes in the doghouse and any exhaust getting in here, even though it's not like I'm going to drive it much. But regardless, we're going to put a couple little black screws in there, and you know, seats and steering wheel, and then this thing's ready. The only other things that'll be left is my wife and I are going out on an anniversary date tonight, so while we're out, we got a couple stops we got to make. But one of them is I'm going to pick up, I don't know why I didn't get any hardware for my trim strip, my transition strip I bought. So all it is going to span that stuff here. It's going to span that joint, you know, between the carpet and the vinyl plank, you know, at each footwell. But I didn't buy any hardware. I mean, I've got self tappers, but they're just mild steel. You know, and I don't mind using those like here. I could always paint those if I wanted to, but you know, here it's gonna see some moisture, so I want to get something stainless in there. So we got to stop and get those. We put a fancy little LED bulb in our interior lamp, so that looks all modern. And that's kind of brings up a point I've been thinking about this truck, and you know, it's kind of nice. It's a nice change of pace from the Lodestar. The Lodestar, I kind of got almost anal about being hell-bent on keeping it period correct, and you know, not having things on it that wouldn't have existed in 1967. And you know, I did I strayed from that here and there, but by and large, I think I did a pretty good job, and it was intentional. With this truck, you know, I don't really care about it being 1987 period correct. I love the way it looks. I love that it's an 87. I love the way L9000s generally look. They're just good, you know, cool, vocational, good size work trucks. You know, I always dug them. That's why I bought this truck. But it's nothing. It's not a classic. You know, no one cares about it besides me. So I can do whatever I want. So that's why, you know, I get to pick, you know, exterior colors like I did, and put in LED bulbs, and, you know, put carpet where it wouldn't have necessarily been, and paint things different colors, and I do whatever I want. And it's kind of fun just to make it be me, not so much what it would have been back then. So anyway, I'm going to get to doing some of this other stuff. I'll bring you back when we got the interior all put back together and cleaned up, so you can see almost the finished product. And thanks for hanging out. Well, it's the next day, back out in the barn. Been working for an hour or two here. I don't remember where I left off, but regardless, we got seats all dirty. Been in and out of here. Driver seats bolted in, nice and sturdy. I did my transition strip there. I forgot to get stainless screws yesterday, so I just put some in. I can switch them out later if need be. Did the best we could with securing that boot. We'll clean that rust up later and make it look a little nicer. So that side of the floor is done. We put the dash back together. I did a bunch of work trying to figure out what all these switches were. I got all but one figured out. I got one oddball one that runs, you can't really see it, but it runs up through a grommet in this A-pillar area, and then I can't figure out what it is. It looks like a factory harness, but I just don't know what it is, or quite frankly what it would be. It's not a factory switch. It's this little tiny one right there. But anyway, got everything else figured out. We had, I believe it's these two. Anyway, we got a bunch of extra switches, which we'll be able to put to work for some work lights, and maybe for dump valves or something like that for air. So anyway, I put that back together. I could play with electrical and the dashboard forever. I want to get a plan together for how I'm going to get that dash painted, all those panels. And the next time I tear it apart, we'll replace a bunch of bulbs and, you know, pull stuff apart and clean it and paint and do all that all in one shot. But for now, that's a rabbit hole I don't feel like sticking my head down into, so we're good there. Did the same thing on the other side. We had a little bevel we had to put in our transition strip, but that came out not half bad. This seat's bolted down. Don't look, but one of these isn't really holding, but that one I had to through bolt. Stupid captive nuts. I hate them. I think everybody hates them, but anyway, back to our nice and snug. They bit hard. 3 out of 4 bit hard, so we'll call that good. Seat belts are all in. Yeah, everything's good. I don't know that I'm going to monkey with the stereo today. It really, I mean, nothing can really be done until the headliner's in, so I think we'll actually probably box that back up and save that project for another day. So, that being said, another thing that needs to happen is, it doesn't need to happen, but it's going to happen. The exhaust right there is about to come off. I started taking it apart already, but I'll let you guys watch on a little time lapse here, and we'll get that sucker off so she's straight piped. Then I think I'm gonna maybe jump into that fuel button, see if I can get that done yet today, and then we'll see what we get done for fluids. So hang tight. Started on working on this fuel button. I want to fire this thing up. It's been sitting for weeks. Before I start messing with the fuel system, I want to make sure we got a good running truck, and you get to see the first start with no exhaust, and that's always fun. right, guys, well, you know how you guys ever have those days where sometimes it feels like everything's stacked against you? I just had one of those afternoons. Nothing on this truck cooperated, and I am covered in oil all through my hair and coolant, and let me show you what got done and what didn't get done. More importantly, check this out. So I started with the intention of, sorry for the finger, putting on the fuel button. But that flashlight is pointed right at the rear housing of the PT pump, right where my finger's pointed to down there. You can't see it very well. Well, you can see. There it is, right there. Right there. That's the fuel housing, or where the governor springs are on a PT pump. Well, there's a 4-bolt flange. It's got to come off of there. And there's a snap ring and a series of shims and a spring and fuel buttons buried on the inside of all that. Well, you can see what's behind there. We got fuel lines. We got a starter. I'm pretty sure the starter would have to drop and those fuel lines would have to come off. I think this would be a job better done with the PT pump off the truck, which on the PT, it's not, it's not mated to the gear housing. It's literally, there's like 4 bolts up there where it bolts to the back of the air compressor. So it's not really a big deal to do. So that might be in our future. But when we're there, that fuel button is not getting done right now. It's not worth trying to, you got a little better access from the bottom. It might be doable. Maybe with just dropping the starter, we can do it pretty easily from the bottom, but I don't want to lose a bunch of shims and stuff. So anyway, roadblock number 1. So I said, well, you know what? Let's change the oil. Get underneath. Drop. Well, first I poked a couple. Well, first I drained the oil. Then I poked a couple holes in the existing filters. No big deal. They drained out, spun them off. Wrong filter. I have the wrong filter. So, if anybody's looking for a couple of Wix 51748s, I've got them. I'm going to put them in some, I don't know, seal them up somehow. Probably saran wrap them and then tape around. If somebody wants them, I'll give them to you. I need 51749s. That's what happens when you trust the Wix filter locator. Problem is, I actually have 2 different filters here. I have a Baldwin B7577 and a Baldwin B96. They're the same thread. I think it's actually a 51749 instead of a 51748 is what this Baldwin crosses to. I think that would work. It's just kind of the depth, if you can see here. Really not. And we got more ports on here. So rather than trying to figure it out, to be honest with you, now I got to figure out which one goes where, though. Sorry, I'm not even pointing at these. Got to figure out which one goes where on the truck, which one's forward, which one's aft. I think I can tell by the ports in the filter block. Anyway, so we'll try to figure that out. So next step was the coolant filter. You see that guy? That piece of shit. That was the tightest filter I have ever come across in my entire life. And I've changed a lot of filters, a lot of different cars, trucks, equipment, you name it. It's tucked right behind both oil filters on the passenger side of the motor. It's right next to the frame rail, of course. There is a shutoff valve, a petcock. Mine actually has the updated stainless steel petcock instead of black plastic, but would you think that thing would move and to turn off the coolant flow? Nope. So I tried to do a quick change. Well, that didn't work. My filter wrench wouldn't even consider pulling it. So I got some channel locks on it, and before it even loosened, it sprung a hole. So then I had coolant going everywhere. So eventually, we just drained down 5-6 gallons, probably another couple gallons on the ground, and once it stopped draining, then I was able to do the old screwdriver through and through trick a couple times, and we got it broke free. Lubed up the new filter, spun it on. It's all good to go. The good news, the bright spot of the day, was that the fuel filter down there was the easiest fuel filter of all time. So that's the bright spot. So then I started digging into trying to find my ESN so that I could maybe, in addition to the fact that I want to put it into my Cummins portal, so I can get some info on this motor and no parts for it. I wanted to see if I could get the exact info on these filters, and I can't find it. Well, I take that back. I found it on the driver's side. There is no tag on this motor. Tag is long gone, but I found it. If you get underneath there, in between the tire and the tank, and get your head stood up in between the frame rails, well, actually outside the frame rail, but looking in, I can find it. The first six digits anyway. Ford, in their infinite wisdom, decided to mount a bracket right in front of it, the last 2 digits. So my next step is I'm going to go to give a call to the Freightliner dealer tomorrow and see if they can run the VIN and see if they can find the original ESN. I am confident that this motor's never been changed at 116,000 miles. So hopefully, I have to go to the Freightliner dealer because, if you guys don't know, Ford sold their heavy truck business back in, I don't remember when it was. 01, 02, somewhere in there. They sold it as Sterling. Sterling, I think, was really, they basically sold it to Daimler, Daimler-Benz. Daimler-Benz owns Freightliner and Western Star, and I can't remember who else. Basically, if you guys don't know, basically, there's only 3 major, realistically, there's only 3 major truck manufacturers in the world, and that is PACCAR. Well, I guess I lied. There's Navistar too. 4. Navistar, PACCAR. PACCAR makes Kenworth and Peterbilt. Navistar makes International. And then you got Daimler-Benz is, Mercedes, obviously, and Freightliner, and Western Star. And I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting one. And then you got Volvo that owns Mack and a few others. Regardless, though, back to the point of the story is that Daimler-Benz bought Ford's heavy truck division in the early 2000s. When they spun it off, they created the Sterling brand. They ran Sterling out. I don't remember. You guys will know. Some of you better tell me better than me. I know, but somewhere around, I want to say 2011, 2010, somewhere in there. After about 10 years of production, they got rid of Sterling and just folded that business into the rest and said, okay, bye-bye. So anyway, if you got an old Ford heavy truck, it's technically serviced by a Daimler dealer, aka Freightliner, so in the States anyway. So we're going to call the Freightliner dealer tomorrow, see what we can find, get some info on these filters, and maybe an ESN, hopefully, and then I can plug that into Cummins and get some more info. So anyway, thwarted at every step, but regardless, I pulled the key so nobody can inadvertently turn this girl over, and later this week we'll get some oil back in her, some filters up on it, and I will say the one cool thing was that this air filter was all but brand new. Problem is, it's got, you know, this is being 20 years old. It's got some evidence here of, it's just loose debris, but there's a lot of dust falling out of it when I'm tapping it. If you look close, there's some evidence of some wasps and mud dauber type stuff right there. So it's probably a $200 filter if I remember right, but no sense in putting that thing back on the truck, so I put the nice brand new one on. So we'll be sitting good. So anyway, I guess maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because I did find a couple just some low pressure coolant lines that go from a block on the side of the motor, or a boss on the side of the block, I guess I should say, up to the or down to the fuel cooler on the front of the passenger side tank. And those two lines are in really rough shape. There's a couple spots where they've been rubbing on the frame where they loop up and over. So I'm gonna also take the opportunity to get about 16 feet of 3/4 ID heater hose and replace that. And some new clamps, and most of the lines on this truck actually look pretty good, but that's one of the ones that are a little rough. Mostly is coolant that looks iffy. Coolant and fuel are the worst of it. So we'll start little bits at a time. I'm sure when we do the tanks, we'll do some fuel lines. So, but anyway, I guess that's the end of a fairly boring video. Just goes to show, guys, sometimes things just don't go as smooth as you want them to do, and you just don't get as much done as you want to do. But that's mechanic work, right? That's life. So I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna make some homemade chicken wings and some collard greens and pour a drink and forget that I'm covered in oil and antifreeze. Hope you guys have a good week.